Gang, are you looking for better sleep and relaxation or relief from pain or anxiety without feeling totally drugged? Well, let me tell you about True Hemp Science full spectrum CBD products. True Hemp Science promises premium quality, pure ingredients, and true value. They source the highest grade organic hemp from around the world to handcraft the finest full spectrum CBD products in the Austin area and beyond. They offer a complete line of full-spectrum CBD products, including oils, tinctures, skincare lotions, sports rubs, gummies, and chocolates. Gang, I've been using their products for a while now, and they've lowered my anxiety and given me incredibly restful sleep. How Did I Get Here has teamed up with True Hemp Science to bring you a very special offer that benefits all of us. Spend $100 or more at True Hemp Science, and they will include either the number 81 distillate, which is great for nighttime, or the number 23 distillate, which is great for daytime, with your order. And that is a $25 value. Just go to truehempscience.com/HDIGH. That's truehempscience.com/HDIGH and balance your body and mind with True Hemp Science full spectrum CBD products. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here are your hosts,
All right, hello, I'm Johnny, I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys are all having a good week. I hope you guys all had a good Labor Day weekend and a good Labor Day. I talked to you guys on Sunday. You know what I forgot to mention on Sunday's show was that was Rosie's Gotcha Day. I've had her now for a year. September 4th, 2021. That's when that young lady walked into my life, changed it forever. And now I'm all scratched up and bitten all the time from playing with her. But man, she does just enrich my life. She's just laying right here by my feet. She just loves hanging out while I do these podcast things. She's gotten so good during the podcast. You guys don't ever hear me having to go like, Rosie, Rosie, anymore like I was a few months ago or like a year ago. Anyway, such a great celebration with Rosie. Gang, I had a good Labor Day weekend. I talked about that on Sunday's show. But on Monday, on Labor Day, I went to lunch with Kathy Valentine. We went to this place, 21 Diner, which is by Waterloo Records. I'm just setting the scene here for the story I'm about to tell. So we haven't seen each other in a few months, and a lot has happened. She's lost her mom. You guys know I've been in Houston a bunch, helping take care of my grandma and stuff, and I've been going through my own personal issues. Like she lost her mom, and I lost my mind, so we had a lot to catch up on. So we were talking, had a really good lunch, and I actually ate like a burger and fries while I sat there and bitched about being fat and how proud I was that I've lost some weight. So, and then she goes, after we eat, she's like, hey, you want to get some ice cream? So we go over to Amy's Ice Cream around the corner. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So we go to Amy's Ice Cream, which, by the way, only had one employee and a fucking line out the door. I forgot it was like Labor Day, right? This was the longest I've ever stood in line for an ice cream cone. You'd think I was like 7. But we stood in line, I'm not joking, for a good 25 minutes, just standing there. Anyway, so we get our ice creams, we go outside, we eat them. By the way, I'm not eating sugar very much, and cutting back on all that stuff makes it so that when you eat like an ice cream cone, can't finish it. I couldn't finish it. I was just like too sugary. Anyways, we had a great time. We had a great talk. We're catching up, and it was fantastic. Threw away my ice cream cone. We go back, walking back to our cars. So we're walking through the parking lot. Kathy goes, oh, hey, there's John Kuntz, the guy that owns Waterloo Records. Great guy. No, we've both known him for years. So we walk up. But as we're walking up, she's like, oh, he's talking to somebody. And I'm like, yeah. Like I said, old guy has like really great calves, like really great calves. And she's like, yeah, no shit. I look up and it's Robert Plant, dude. So he's out there talking to John Kuntz, the owner of Waterloo. And I'm like, Kathy, that's Robert Plant. And she goes, oh my God, it is. Well, let's not go up there now because then he'll think we're just going up there to say hi to Robert Plant. So what ended up happening was we stood there staring at this dude fucking awkwardly for like 3 or 4 minutes. Maybe it was more, but he noticed us just standing there. Like we're both standing on the sidewalk and we're just like, 20 feet away, just staring at him. Like, wow, it's Robert Plant. Just even commenting like, wow, this is weird how weirdly we're staring at him. So Robert Plant left, and let me just tell you this one other thing. First of all, he was wearing shorts, like a bathing suit or some sort. Maybe he was going to go swimming in shoes. He played here on Sunday night, so there it makes sense that he was there on Monday at Waterloo. But then he got into a Toyota Camry. Like this car pulls out, and he starts like kind of opening the door, and I'm like, ooh, I wonder if that's a Bentley. And I'm like, nope, it's a Camry. It's pretty weird. Anyway, so then we walked up to John Kuntz and said hi, which was like, what's weirder? Walking up while he's talking to Robert Plant and saying hi, because we were walking around the corner. We wouldn't have just stopped for a few minutes and just stared at them and then walked up and said hi. It was just so odd. Anyway, it was funny, but it was nice to see John. And it was great to catch up with Kathy. You know, we started talking about we got to get the Lady Band back together. Lady Band Johnson. Who knows if that's going to happen? We do. I mean, we say it a lot. We have over the last few years. I think it's been 5 years now since we played a show. 4 or 5 years. So maybe it is time to come back. Maybe it is time to come back with Lady Band Johnson. Who knows? Anyway, I hope you guys had a great Labor Day. I just wanted to share my weird misadventure and not meeting the great Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. I thought that was a kind of funny story. Gang, I have a great show for you today. Jack Tempchin, singer-songwriter, legendary songwriter. He wrote Peaceful Easy Feeling, which was covered by the Eagles. You know that song, Peaceful Easy Feeling? He also co-wrote Already Gone. Both of those songs are on the Eagles' Greatest Hits Volume 1, which is the biggest selling album of all time. So this dude is like in the massive songwriter world. Not only that, he co-wrote You Belong to the City, Smuggler's Blues, The One You Love, and True Love with Glenn Frey for his solo career. And then he wrote that song Swaying to the Music, Slow Dancing, Swaying. He wrote that song too. It's written with tons and tons and tons of songwriters and artists like George Jones, Emmylou Harris, Tanya Tucker, Jackson Browne has done his stuff. He entered the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2019. We talk about this cool band he had in the 70s called Funky Kings with Jules Shear. Now, you can find that record. It's like a record from 1976, and it's super cool. Like, I had never heard of it, and Jules Shear is one of my favorite songwriters. And I went back and listened to it. It's fucking awesome, man. Go back and check it out. It's on Spotify. Funky Kings. That's the name of the record. That's the name of the band. All right. So he's also been putting out records, and he's been super prolific this whole time. And he's gotten to this point right now where he's been releasing these singles, these songs, Waiting, Rambling Freeborn Man, and Bob Dylan's Whiskey with this band called Mrs. Henry. That is this fucking awesome band. It's already a band. Like, Mrs. Henry is its own band, and he gets them to back him up on his stuff. And it's got like this energy, this vitality to it. There's this urgency to it. You know, Jack's been around for a long time. And as you get older, it's tough to stay interested and stay engaged and keep on growing and keep on writing and keep on doing stuff. But Jack's managed to do that. He's managed to do that. Yeah, you know, as a person that's 53, that's a singer-songwriter myself, that's trying to stay on, trying to keep making music, not necessarily keeping up, not like I'm going to go up on stage with like tracks and some colored boxes and like dancers and stuff, but like to find a way to keep on going deeper into myself, searching new ways to get music out. And as you get older, you look to older guys like, how did you do it? How did you do it? And Jack is a perfect example of like a dude that's just stayed true to himself as an artist. He digs deep. He pulls out these amazing songs. I'm serious. Go out there and check out Waiting, Rambling Freeborn Man, and Bob Dylan's Whiskey. All right? There's a reason why this dude is in the 2019 Songwriters Hall of Fame. Why he's got 2 songs on the biggest selling album of all time. Why he wrote Slow Dance and Swaying to the Music, which I loved when I was a kid. I'm serious. Genius dude. He also has a podcast called 3 Jacks. I don't think he really does it a lot, but it's out there. He talks about like 3 random songs of his, and he just kind of goes into them and talks about them on that podcast. You can find it anywhere you find podcasts. I found it in a lot of places. Tons of great songs with collaborators that have been on the show. Like I found somebody with the great Janeva Magnus, who was just on the show. My old friend Jesse Dayton. He did Jesus and Muhammad with him and Rusty Young. Fantastic tunes. He's got tons of music out there. You can hear his versions of his songs like Peaceful Easy Feeling and Already Gone and You Belong to the City. They're all out there. Go find them on Spotify. Go to jacktempchin.com. Get involved with him. And he also has beachjams.com. That's where he makes up songs on the spot. He just makes them up. in this songwriting style called El Blurto, which he developed with Glenn Frey from the Eagles. Go to beachjams.com. You'll find Jack's Beach Jams there, where he makes up a song every day and puts it out. So there you go. Oh, man, what a great conversation. I had such a great time talking to him, and he's such a lovely, lovely man. So without further ado, this is me and songwriting legend, Jack Tempchin. Let's get down.
I want to shake up some things with some powerful words. Nobody's saying, but they need to be heard. Like masters of war, like blowing in the wind. Man, we could use something that good again. I'm trying to write.
Hi, I'm Johnny. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm Jack. Thanks.
Yeah. Jack, I'm a big fan. I'd start realizing I was born in 1968, so I've been listening to your music for a long time, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Like you've been there, like in my room and shit, like my whole life in the car.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, man. Amazing.
Fantastic, Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in San Diego?
Yes.
Yeah. You might know a friend of mine that lives out there, Steve Poltz.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've did some shows with Steve, and Steve is just like he's just like nobody else.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. He is just like nobody else.
His live show is just I don't know if you've ever seen him live.
Oh yeah, many times. Yeah.
He's unbelievable.
I venture to bet, like, and I don't know if you feel this way. You've seen even way more music than I have, but I've been seeing music since I was a little kid, and like seeing some of the greats. And I venture to say that he is possibly the best performer maybe I've ever seen. It's
incredible.
Yeah.
I saw him. He walks out into the crowd, but I mean, it's just
yeah.
he's indescribable. Nobody's like him.
Yeah.
And then I saw him sometime he gets together with his old group, the Rugburns.
The Rugburns, yeah.
And they are incredible. So anyway, he asked me to open a show for him a couple of years ago in a theater in Escondido, and that was just amazing. So
how awesome.
He's great.
So you have a band that you're working with right now, and you've put out some singles with them. They're called Mrs. Henry.
That's right.
And that band... That band is its own self-contained unit when you're not in it, right?
Yes.
Which to me, as a solo artist, that is the coolest way to go, because you find a vibe of a band that you like, and then you've got it. It's a band.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And I'll see a band and I'll go, gee, I've always, gone, yeah, maybe I could use those guys to back me up for a little bit. So this band, they do a lot of songs by the band, Robbie Robertson, Lead on Helm Band. And they actually have an identity as a tribute band for those guys.
Really?
But they're also their own band that does original stuff. So they do a show called The Last Waltz, which they did here in town at the Belly Up Tavern in Solana Beach. The Last Waltz is the whole movie of The Last Waltz. All the songs, and then they have, like, for Joni Mitchell and for everybody, they have some people they know come and be guests.
Right.
And they do the whole movie. So they asked me to be Neil Young, and I did 2 songs with them. And that's how I met them, just, about a year ago. I rehearsed and did the 2 songs, and then I stayed and listened to the whole show, which usually I would get bored and go home with a full band. They were just incredible. They're great players. They have fantastic dynamics. They keep the attention, and the 4 guys all sing, and they do harmonies. They got a B3 player. So anyway, we got in touch, and I sent them an email and said, "Look, I'm not Bob Dylan, and you guys aren't the band, but we sound pretty good together. So let's do." He said, "Yeah." So I came down to their rehearsal facility down by the Mexican border. They had a big warehouse where they rehearse.
Yeah.
And we worked up some songs, and then we got some. And Dan Dude Cervantes, the guitar player, has his own record label. And so we got some video guys, and we just took the PA system we use for the rehearsals and funneled all the tracks into Logic, and we filmed 3 songs, and they're live, basically, and that's what's on the internet. And the thrill for me is, when I play, I usually do songs that I've written that people know, which is great.
Yeah.
And I've been playing solo for about 8 or 9 years, and just more practical. And that's the way I started out, and I like to do solo, and I'm good. But it was nice with this band. I'm not doing any of my hits. I'm just getting to do all songs that no one's ever heard before. And so, and as soon as I start to play the song for the band, they all jump in with these 3-part harmonies instantly, and they work out an arrangement. They're really good. So I'm really happy to be working with these guys.
Yeah.
We've done several concerts so far.
It really, I'm 53, and as I said, I want to continue to do this, right? But there's avenues, and it's difficult to stay engaged as you get older. For anyone, it's very difficult to stop learning, to stop taking in stuff and being able to put it out. And that's one of the things that I've always wanted to stay interested and connected. And I have to say, you are like a fucking Yoda level. Your songs are still intense. Your performance is intense. There's an urgency, especially to this song, Waiting. There's an urgency that is difficult to have as a gentleman with wisdom. You know what I mean? It's hard to have whatever it was the Sex Pistols had after you're 40 years old. But it does have that energy and that urgency that's just so beautiful to see somebody bringing that out and expressing it like you do.
Well, thank you. And I know what you're saying, and I just, you become a caricature of yourself. And like Van Morrison says, they don't care. They don't really care who you are. They just care who you were.
Yeah, and, exactly.
And the Eagles, I think they're not going to make more albums because really no one wants to hear any new albums. They love the old stuff and they want to hear it.
Right.
Which is fine. Wonderful.
Yeah.
But I'm just really lucky because inside I'm just moving and creating all the time. It's just fortunate for me, and I'm so interested in the new stuff I'm doing.
Yeah, that really comes through in your writing. I'm sorry, this Zoom thing we're gonna interrupt each other a little bit, but stick with me. It really does come through. It's palpable in your work.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm just continuing to be the same guy in writing and doing. So with this band, it's really an opportunity. And, not every band, it just works. These guys are focused. They're younger, but they're focused on the band and that era of music. And so when I sit down and play with them, it just works. It's not like I've tried a bunch of other bands.
Yeah.
But it's really seems to work for me and have power and intensity and be really great. So that's big fun.
The pocket of the band is so like Levon's pocket, and just the pocket that they lived in is so deep. It's like it's making the hair on my arm stand up just thinking about it. It's amazing. These guys do cop that. Like you really do have a good like deep groove happening in these songs.
Yeah. And what impressed me the first time they have a B3 player. So we played, first gig was just in a tiny little club to make sure, we could, and they bring the B3 to every gig.
Jesus.
And you know what a B3 is.
Yeah, that's commitment, man.
Monster organ. And they go, oh no, we're not going to leave it. Everybody else just uses a little synth, they're real. And so it's really exciting for me to try to be who I am now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the key. That to be who you are now and not like give up and just do the American songbook or what. A lot of dudes do that, and I don't fault them, but like I don't want to hear someone sing my grandparents' music. I don't want to hear Rod Stewart do that.
And you have to, because if I go see those people, I want to hear their songs. Everybody wants to hear those songs, so it's great, and you're lucky to have the songs. But then again, I've never been a star like these people and built an audience on those songs. So I'm a songwriter. So, man, I just want to do what I'm doing.
Do you think in hindsight that maybe being able to be a little bit behind the scenes afforded you maybe a more personal life than your friend Glenn Fry might have had?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. There are people like Glenn, amazing people. And I can't stand that close to the flame.
Yeah.
When I met Glenn, he already knew that he was going to be a superstar, and he wanted to be, and he was going there. So was Jackson Browne. They already knew. For me, I stayed in the background. I mean, partly because maybe my talent wasn't as great as them, but also I just wasn't comfortable being that thing. So I got to have a personal life, and keep working and writing with all kinds of different people.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of rose to the level that I was supposed to be at.
Yeah.
And that was great.
I mean, there's still just a fuckload of success that most people don't get as a songwriter. I mean, a crazy amount of success on a bunch of different levels. So it's funny. Obviously, you saw that Eagles documentary, which I love. There's a thing in there where Bob Seger is talking about Glenn singing on Ramblin' Man, and ever since I saw that, I can only hear him when I hear that song. But that story is so telling of his level of ambition. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was going to be heard, even if it was a group of people on someone else's song.
I think that may have been his first thing and he said, well, he and Bob Seger would drive around in the car, and a song would come on the radio, hit, and Glenn would say, "Oh, that sucks," and he'd reach over to change it, and Bob Seger would push his hand away and go, "Yeah, Glenn, but they're on the radio, so let's listen."
Yeah.
Learn something, and they were focused.
Yeah.
So
I heard your version of the one you love this morning on my long walk, and I just forgot what a great song that is. It's a gorgeous.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. So,
go
ahead.
Well, Glenn had left the Eagles, and he called me and said, "Come over and write some songs." So I went over there, and like I tell the story, he had 100 candles burning in this place and some bottles of wine. I go, "Well, you have a date later?" He goes, "No, the Muse is up there, and we're not the only guys trying to write a song tonight. So we want her to feel comfortable to come and hang out with us, So we started thinking about this beautiful Muse lady coming down, and then we thought, well, what if she had to choose between like two like really cool guys, like me and Glenn. So that's the one you love. And I had been trying to learn the chords from Mickey Baker's jazz book. And there's the first page of the book is like 40 chords,
Yeah.
And it's super challenging. So in order to learn them, I'd written a song with them, and I showed Glenn. And then we used those chords. Of course, I showed Glenn this song, which had all these jazz chords, and then he just looked at it and immediately could play them. It took me weeks to try to figure. And then he started playing, and we wrote. That's the first thing we wrote. And we wrote "I Found Somebody," I think, the same night. It's the first time. And I had known Glenn for many years, and he had done a couple of my songs with the Eagles, but we had never written anything before.
Wow.
So that was a start of magic 14 years of writing together.
Do you continue to co-write with people?
I do.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I was writing with Gary Nicholson.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a writer Nashville.
Yeah.
And
Do you-
he just got inducted into the Nashville Songwriter Hall of Fame.
oh, yeah? My friend Kimmy Rhodes works with him. Do you know her?
Kimmy Rhodes, I think so.
Yeah, I live in Austin, Texas, so she's from here as well. I've written with her.
He's from
from here, right?
He's from Texas, and he
Yeah.
just recently played in Austin, and
Yeah.
But he is, we would stay up all night on the phone writing, and he's written for everybody and been in everybody's band. Like in the last 2 years, he's had songs recorded by Fleetwood Mac, Ringo, every country person, Willie Nelson. He's had 600 songs recorded.
Jesus.
So, yeah, it's staggering. And he's incredible. So I write with him, and I just write with a lot of different people.
That's great. That's a
I
good.
got to write some things with Michael McDonald a couple of years ago, and then I'm writing with a guy named James Bourne, who's phenomenal. He was in a band called Busted. So I love to co-write.
Yeah, Michael McDonald. What a beautiful voice that guy has. How much fun it must be to write
It was
with him.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I said, let's go out in the studio, and have some keyboards. But I have this, I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah. Little.
Oops. Oh, well. It's a little Yamaha keyboard,
Yeah.
and I bought it because it's got little tiny speakers in it. And so Michael McDonald, he wasn't interested in going out there. We just sat at the kitchen table for 3 days, and he would just play this.
That is so funny.
And then when we write the song, and he would play it in a minute. As soon as he started singing, in a minute, it was just like a total work of art.
Yeah. Here, I don't know if you can see this, but behind me, I have a double-tiered Yamaha or Casio thing that I use to write with too. Yeah.
See, yeah.
So, all right. So you're from Ohio? That's where you're born?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because I left there when I was less than a year old. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
really a California person. I've been in California my whole life.
In San Diego? Is that where you were?
Yeah,
Yes.
San Diego. And basically, I'm in the northern part of San Diego County now, but I'm still in San Diego.
Yeah. So when did the music bug get you? Like when did you get bit?
It wasn't until I was about 18. I listened to music. Everybody else in the music business were in bands when they were in high school. They were already playing and stuff. But I didn't start playing. And then my first instrument was a harmonica. And after a year or so, I learned how to play blues. So I wasn't into it. And then when I was about 18, I got I thought, and everybody was playing guitar, and I thought, I don't want to do that. But finally, I bought a Stella guitar in a pawn shop for $13 and started playing it. And I was into Bob Dylan and Tambourine Man and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was never very good. I couldn't play anybody's song. I couldn't figure out songs. So I just started writing my own songs.
And what were you doing? Were you going to like coffee houses and stuff? Were you taking them out and showing people?
Well, after a while, I think it was another year or two after that, there were a lot of coffee houses. And by that time, I would show up and play. First coffee house was the Bifrost Bridge in La Mesa, California. And then I just remembered recently, they didn't have a microphone. No microphone. You just got on. It was a little room. And so most of the time, I would get up at the open mic nights. And then after a while, they would hire me. And I would end up running some of the open mic nights, which were called hoot nights.
Yeah.
Hoot nanny nights. And then and then while I was in college and stuff, that's how I made a living. I had about 3 or 4 of those a week.
Wow.
And each one paid me $20 or something,
Yeah.
But I got a lot of experience on stage and writing. you write something and you play it for people, just you and them, and then you get a feeling as to whether it's speaking. And also, I could talk on stage because there was never anyone in the audience. There were 4 or 5 people,
except the people signed up. Yeah,
yeah, and that's what I did. And then a couple of the other entertainers who were working the coffee houses said, "Hey, can I do that song?" Most people nowadays, they go, "I'm going to be a songwriter." They start out and they write these songs. But I had no clue about that. It was just after a whole bunch of people kept asking me if they could do my songs, and they started doing them, and I got feedback from them. The one guy did a song called Diamond Ring, and it became a huge hit with the crowds in San Diego, but he was an incredible performer with an amazing ability to play guitar, and he had arranged it, and I asked him if he could show me the arrangement, and he said, "No, that's not it." But so I came out the other way. It was only after other people started doing my songs, and after a long time of that, it occurred to me that maybe I could be a songwriter.
Yeah. So how long were you writing songs before someone actually covered your song?
Maybe 5 years, and the first people I just recently reconnected. There was a guy named Hedges Capers, and he came down and he eventually formed a duo called Hedge and Donna, and they were. We saw them, and they just blew our minds. They were just so incredibly good. And then right after we saw them, they went to the Troubadour, and I think the next night they got a record deal. Wow. And they were on Capitol Records, and they cut an album. They did 2 of my songs. And that's the first people ever did. And then they went on tour. They opened for Harry Belafonte, who was huge then.
Yeah. And
they were on every television show. And that was my first exposure to being in the real music business.
That's phenomenal, man. Did you get a publishing deal or something after that? Did it work like that back then? Did all of a sudden Warner Chappell was knocking at your door or whatever?
No, what happened was the producer said, "Well, you need to get the publisher." So he signed me up with an agent, a publisher in New York called Lou Levy. So I did the songs. And then this is the thing. They sent me some documents, but they never sent me any money for the songs. So I started writing letters going, "Hey, how about I get paid?"
Yeah.
Maybe they owed me $25. I don't know, but that was a lot of money. My rent was $47. So, I was going, hey, and then finally I just said, this is getting on my nerves to have these people owe me money and trying to get it. So I said, look, here's what I'm going to do in the music business. I'm just going to trust everybody, not worry about it until they don't pay me or something like that, in which case I'm just going to write them off and not deal with them anymore. But I'm not going to go pursue and take all my energy. And that feeling that I got, which was a big release, that led me to write the song Already Gone. That's really what the song Already Gone is about.
Wow.
It's like, bye-bye, I'm just you're proving yourself not really worthy, and I'm not going to just keep entangling myself with you forever. And then here's another thing. Eventually, I moved to Berkeley for a year because I wanted to get in the music business, but I didn't like LA. So that was really a stupid move. Because after a year in Berkeley, I realized there's no music business up here. But during that time, I was starving. I had no money. And the guy from Lou Levy called me and said, well, we're coming out to San Francisco. Do you want to play us some songs? So he came over to the place I was staying, and I played him a bunch of songs. And he said, look, if I like one of the songs, I'll give you $25, and then I'll own the song. So I needed the money. So I played him a bunch of songs, and he didn't like any of them. And one of them was Peaceful, Easy Feeling.
Not the best A&R guy.
So it worked out really good.
Yeah. So what did you end up?
Yeah.
So okay. So after Berkeley, what'd you do?
I came back and let's see, I'm not quite sure the years, but I stayed in San Diego, walked on the beach, and then eventually I decided I'm going to have to go up to LA. So I got a little apartment in LA. And meanwhile, I had met Glenn Frying and J.D. Souther when they came down to play this place in San Diego that I played.
Yeah.
And in a duo called Long Branch Penny Whistle.
Uh-huh.
So I knew them. Then when I went up to LA, they were really nice. I stayed at their place, and I'd also met Jackson Brown. And I stayed at their place, and then they introduced me to David Geffen, and then later Clive Davis. And so that's kind of how I. And then when Glenn formed the Eagles, did Peaceful Easy Feeling, somehow in a package deal, I got hooked up with Warner Brothers Publishing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And before that, I was hooked up with David Geffen, and he didn't sign me officially, but he gave me a publishing deal, and I got $250 a month.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
So my girlfriend and I had got a Volkswagen bus, and we toured. We went all over the country in Canada. We'd go to general delivery at the post office every month, wherever we were, and the bank would send us our check. And that's what kept us going.
Dude, that is so cool.
Yeah.
So I was talking to someone a few days ago and telling them that I was going to be talking to you, and they started talking about what the Southern California sound was about. That it was basically the architects are you, Glenn Fry, J.D. Souther, and Jackson Brown are like the four corner posts. What was that? Can you were you hanging out at the Troubadour in the magical time of the Troubadour?
I definitely was, yes.
What was going on there? Like I want a first-hand account, like from you, so I can actually ask questions.
Okay, so I wouldn't say. I mean, I was mainly a songwriter and a folky guy, and yet those other guys you're talking about were
artists as well.
Yeah, they were, and I was an artist at that time. I mean,
right.
I was a performer, but they were musically many, many light years ahead of me. As far as the sound, like Glenn and those guys, they knew they'd been in bands when they were kids. Every type of American music they knew, and every song, and they could hum the bass part, and they, so as far as architects, and then when they put Glenn from Detroit, and then he brought country music into it, and they wove it all together. So I wouldn't consider myself really an architect, except in the terms of the writing part. But we were all together. I played the Troubadour a lot, and I hung out in the bar a lot. And it was, the whole era in that point in time, every songwriter type of person who wanted to ride the wave and make it in the new type of music, they moved to LA, and then they showed up at the Troubadour and they played. So and then Joni Mitchell and all these people. I saw Elton John play for the first time, and everybody, this was the spot, and somehow I was in the spot absorbing all this stuff.
How amazing.
Yeah. It was truly an amazing, magical time.
When the Eagles made that first record, they were in. They didn't make it here, did they? Because Glenn Johns didn't work in America at that time much, did he?
Yeah, they went to England.
Okay,
and they made it pretty quickly.
So, did you get to hear what they like? Did you get to hear what they sounded like doing it before you heard the record version of it or anything?
Well, yes and no. Basically, they were helping me out, and they'd moved out of Silver Lake. Jackson had a place, and he let me stay there. I was staying at his place, and I played Peaceful Easy Feeling. I was working on and he had a little room that was darkened with a piano, and I was in there. Glenn came in and heard it and said, "What's that?" And he put it on a cassette. And he said, "Look, Jack, I've got a new band, and we've been together 8 days. And we'd like to work the song up." So I go, "Okay." And then the next day he came back with a cassette, and he played me the Eagles, rough outline of Peaceful Easy Feeling on a cassette. And so, and then later I went and saw them rehearse for a little bit. Then they went to England. Of course, I had nothing to do with that. I wasn't there. I wasn't with the album, and they came back, and then it was the third single, so that's the first time I was walking around in downtown LA at the farmer's market, this big place, and I heard my song coming out of the radio. It was just like, what? And that changed my life, there you go.
Wow,
that must have been about 50 years ago.
Yeah. That must have been the most amazing feeling. Plus that song is amazing. And they did help you out, but you helped them out too, man. They got a couple of really great songs out of you.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And of course it was great for me, and I guess it was great for them. And, I'm super grateful, and I'm super grateful that I ever met a guy like Glenn, know. He was my friend for 47 years. He was the greatest of friends. So.
Did you guys in a way, I hang out with other songwriters too, and a lot of times we play songwriting games, and I feel like when shit's going on, I got to really write songs, if not just to write them, but to not be the guy without a song at the thing. You know what I mean? So did hanging out with those guys, did that up your output? Were you writing all the time?
I just always was writing all it, and I tried writing on, I'm going to go write every day.
Right.
Thing. I remember doing it for about a week, and then I came and I looked at all this stuff. I go, "Jack, this is no good." So but I just wrote all the time, just when I felt like it,
Okay, yeah.
And then when I worked with Glenn, he'd come over and he'd have some idea of an album or something. Or we would do a technique which he called El Blurto. So we'd maybe smoke a joint and sit there and turn on a cassette recorder and just jam and make up songs.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always been really good at. So we'd make up stuff, and then eventually you make up a bunch of stupid stuff, and all of a sudden you hear it back and you go, "Hey, I didn't know I did that." And there's a great little part. And then we would work on that. But as far as, my output was just naturally I was just always writing stuff. I didn't, it wasn't like my friend Gary Nicholson, who grew up in the environment of Nashville.
Right.
Where they have songwriting co-write meetings at 10 o'clock and then at 2 o'clock every day for 40 years.
Yeah.
And in every meeting, you come out with a song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always thought I would like that. But when I finally did have an opportunity to do it, I didn't like it because they write so many songs and only a couple of them ever get demoed. I go, "What happened to that song?" Well, it takes just as long to write a new one. And I just, I write one that's important and I play it. And
Well, also it seems like as a songwriter, there's more to your songs than what they're trying to do. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because it's a fucking art form in itself to write like a 3-minute pop song that everyone can sing in a minute. Oh, you write a lot of songs. It just so happens that the song that comes out of you is very sing-songable, but it doesn't seem like you're a craftier person than you are an artist, if that makes sense.
I think that's right, because everybody said, "Oh, did you write that song for George Jones? Or did you write that song for Emmylou Harris?" And I didn't.
Right.
I always just wrote the song, then they hear it. And so, whereas Nashville guys, they'll write for people, and it's a whole different thing. It's kind of like being a performer, guitar player versus a studio musician,
right? Who's
a completely different world and has to really know what he's doing and make just the right thing for the record. It's all great, but yeah, I just kind of write what's in me.
Yeah. You've got, I mean, obviously you have to have like a bunch of friends in that studio, like the guys that were the 70s, like Waddy and Lee Sklar and all those cats. What are they? They're as a group, they're called the Family. Is that right?
Yeah, the Immediate Family is
Immediate
that
Family.
band. And
Okay.
I've met a couple of those guys. I think when I was working with Bobby Whitlock, and we wrote some songs, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to go. My friends are going to record," and all these great guys were there. But Waddy I've known really well for years, and eventually we used to jam at Rick the bass player's house. Rick played with for 10 years with Neil Young and for 11 years with Joe Walsh. And we go over to Rick's house and every Sunday and just jam.
Oh, how cool.
So at one point I said, let's, and they would back me up when I had gigs, which was great. And then I said, well, let's do a band. So we formed a band, Big Monday at the Joint, a club called the Joint, for 2 years, and did a show every week with Waddy, Rick the bass player, and Terry Reid, Bernard Fowler were singing, and we had guests. We had guests come. I said, let's open it up to guests. So we had George Thorogood, Johnny Rivers, Roger Daltrey. People would just drop. It was a free gig for the audience, and people would just drop in, about 100 people. And I filmed every episode, filmed it, recorded it.
Yeah.
And it was a blast. So I did that for a couple of years with Waddy.
That's awesome.
But the Immediate Family, the section of musicians, I never really got to know them as well.
Right.
But Waddy together.
Yeah. Man, can I tell you something? When Stevie Nicks was inducted into the Rock and Roll, I'm a huge fan of Waddy, and I love the way he plays. I love watching him play. I love that the fucking guy looks exactly the same that he did in like 1978. But also, they did just like the white winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. You know that song? Ooh, baby, ooh. And it's like a thing where Waddy does a like just to pick it, double picking a one note on his guitar. It's making the hair on my arm stand up. Dude, it literally brought me to tears. I was like just sitting there crying, watching this like a Jedi master. Like the best guy to do that thing is doing it right now in real life, and this is what it sounds like. Amazing.
Well, I look back and I can't believe he wanted to play with me all that time. I'm not he at the same time he was going out and playing with Stevie Nicks and doing all this stuff. I mean, he was like chosen to be in Keith Richards' band.
Yeah.
I mean, you just, and so he is the greatest. And, it's interesting. He played and he doesn't use any pedals. I mean, he can, and he doesn't even like to have a tuner box between him and the amp. It's just the guitar, his hands, the amp. And so, I mean, it was unbelievable, playing all those years with him.
Yeah.
This is really a big privilege. I don't know how I stumbled into it, but it was wonderful.
I mean, Jack, you're not only are you a great songwriter, but you're very much the real deal. Even just watching you playing with Mrs. Henry, like I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. Like you are. Yeah. I mean, you're one of the cats. You're as badass as Stevie Nicks, like just in your own way. You know what I mean? You're nowhere near as cute, but you are as badass. So you mentioned Johnny Rivers. So after that time, that's when you wrote Slow Dancing, Swaying to the Music?
Yeah. What happened there was I went up to L.A. finally and tried to kickstart a solo career for myself. And then I ran into a guy from Laguna who was in a wonderful band that I loved called Honk. The guitar player, Richard Steckel, and he's an incredible player, singer, and songwriter. Then he introduced me to Jules Shear.
One of my idols.
Playing at the, and he's amazing.
Amazing.
Completely unique.
Completely.
Unbelievable songwriter. So we went over, we went over to Doug Haywood's house. Doug Haywood was the bass player for Jackson Browne, and we sat there with Doug, and we just each went around playing a song. And Richard had a song called "My Old Pals." It's just amazing, and Jules had a song called "Easy to Begin," and I'd just written "Slow Dancing."
Yeah.
So we went around and played, and then and those two guys and Doug Haywood are phenomenal harmony singers, you know. And Richard is such a soulful guitar player, and it instantly was so good. None of us wanted to be in their band right then, but we just had to, you know. It was so good. So then we played one night at a club, and this manager guy came up and said, "You're too good to be in this club." And then within a month or two, we got a contract with Clive Davis. We were rehearsing, and he called me one night and said, "I'm coming to town." So he came over to the rehearsal the next day, and we were working without a rhythm section. But Richard called a couple of his friends, including Greg Lease, and they came up that morning, and we rehearsed 3 songs, and then we played those same songs, just having met them, for Clive, and he goes, "I love it, you have a deal." And then we recorded with Paul Rothchild.
Oh, wow.
And he had just
The Doors guy, right?
He did an album with Paul Rothchild, and he had just done Janis Joplin and the Doors.
Yeah.
You know, he was amazingly wonderful, wonderful guy. And the engineer was Fritz Richmond, who was the jug player in the Queskin Jug Band.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, we did that, and Slow Dancing was the single, and it got on the radio, went up to number 60 or something. And then Johnny Rivers heard it on the radio and told his friend, "Oh, that's a great song. I would record it if it wasn't already a hit." And the guy said, "It's not a hit. It's only up to number 60. So Rivers, and I didn't know Johnny Rivers at the time. He recorded it, and then he made it a hit. And then later I met Johnny, and we wrote songs together and became friends and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's how it all came about.
Well, for those that are listening, the band that he's talking about is called Funky Kings, which I knew nothing about until I was researching you. And then it's on Spotify. You guys made one record, came out in 1976. Dude, that record is rad. A hidden gem. Yeah.
Yeah.
For those that are out
So
there, get
cool.
out there and check out Funky Kings. It really is. It's a great fucking record. And you guys are a cool band.
Yeah. We had a great time.
Good.
We opened a tour, Hall & Oates, and then eventually the band broke up, and that's fine. But that was a great time.
Yeah. So during that time,
Yeah.
after Funky Kings, there was some time before. Were you just? That's when other people were doing your songs, like Tammy Wynette and George Jones, and people of
George
Disney.
Jones, and I was writing with people. This guy John Brannon, Bobby Whitlock came to town. I didn't even know who he was. He was in Delaney and Bonnie,
Right.
and went on to play with Eric Clapton
Right.
on the Layla album and stuff. So he came to town. We wrote some songs, and eventually George Jones. But yeah, and I had still had an album deal with Arista, so I went to Muscle Shoals.
Oh, cool.
I did an album at Muscle Shoals and got to know all those incredible guys. I became friends with Barry Beckett. And, you know, just kept going along. And then I also was opening a lot of shows at that time. So I toured as an solo opening act I did the whole Christopher Cross's.
Oh,
first
fantastic,
tour.
man.
I opened for Jesse Colin Young for a tour in Chicago, and I was just hopping around doing that. Well, that was really great.
Yeah.
So,
That's exciting, man. That must have been fun doing that. That Christopher Cross, that was such a, you're talking about the album with the flamingo on it, right? That was that was one of those records, like, you know, kind of like Eagles' Greatest Hits or something, where whatever year that is, it's on everyone's turntable when you walked into their house. You know what I mean?
yeah, it was, and Sailing, you know, that song. And then, and it was so amazing because Christopher Cross had a band when he was in Austin, for years, and he's got this band, and he made the record. And instead of getting other guys, he took this band on the road.
Yeah.
So I'm on tour with them, and to them, 2 years ago they were just playing clubs in Austin. Now they're playing for these huge audiences, and their heroes are coming backstage to hang out with them.
Yeah.
And they were just in paradise, And so me and these guys had a fabulous time. We all became friends, and it was a great thing.
Really, I've been very, very close friends with Tommy Taylor, the drummer of that band.
Is that right?
Yeah, for many, many years. Yeah, he's one of my favorite dudes.
He would always be drinking Dr. Pepper. I don't know if he's still,
I don't know if he might have cut out sugar, but he was never a guy leaned over a table sniffing stuff, which I think has kept him so healthy for so many years. And Andy Salmon, the bass player, I've known since I was like 15. Both of those guys I've known since I was like 15.
Are you in Austin?
I'm in Austin, yeah.
I wonder. Yeah, and Andy Salmon, of course, he was a really good friend of mine, and we used to hang out. And then he quit. He quit the business, became like part of the state government that controlled insurance companies.
Yeah. He's still. I'm fortunate enough, and have been for the last almost 30 years, to play the gig that he comes out for every year, which is John Lennon's birthday. He's part of the house band that backs up all kinds of singers, and I'm actually just booked it. They just invited me back for this year's thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Andy. He's so great.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah. Well, that's neat that you know those guys. That's so neat.
Yeah, man. It's a great community out here, and I feel like it's probably akin to that community that you had when you were getting started. Like, these guys were a little bit older than me, and they saw that I really wanted to do it, and I was ready to do the work, and so everyone welcomed me with like open arms and pushed me along. Made me a lifer.
John, it's really important to have a scene that supports and inspires you. And, in LA, early on, there was a scene, but then a time rolled by, and then for years in Los Angeles, for me, I was there, and there wasn't a scene. I couldn't find it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, things moved from hip hop and disco, but even the other, a scene is a magic thing. Descends upon a city at one time. It's there. It flourishes. And if you can be part of it, I always miss that when I don't have it.
Yeah.
It's kind of the greatest. So,
and
Austin,
it's not,
I know, has.
Yeah. And it's not just music. It's like you think about the Parisian salons of the 1920s. Like, that's what they were doing. They were in a scene, and helping each other get ahead in their chosen art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd have a guy who wrote books. You'd have all these different people.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful that those guys, that Austin thing is working.
Yeah.
It's really great.
So are you going to get out and tour some? Are you going to go out with Mrs. Henry? Like, what happens now?
I'm not sure, because I was touring before the pandemic. I was flying back east and doing a couple gigs every weekend as a solo guy in 100-seat places. And that was really cool, but the travel kind of wears on me. I don't know if I get enough out of it.
Yeah, I get you.
To warrant the travel. And then since the pandemic, I've been reluctant to travel. I haven't got COVID yet. I don't want to get it because I'm vulnerable. And so if that really starts to fade out, I might do some touring. But then the other thing is, I thought to myself, within San Diego and LA, there's maybe 15 million people. That should be plenty of people for me to play to.
Totally.
Only a couple. So I've been opening some shows here at this place called Humphreys, which is 1,600 seats, and I opened for Band America and for Boscat.
Oh, wow.
So that's really fun. If I get something every month where I'm doing something like that, and then if I can play with Mrs. Henry, then I'm fulfilled. And nowadays you have the internet. So let me tell you about my new project. I don't know if you're aware.
No, please do.
So I have this new project Let me see if I can.
Yes.
Music.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is it
See,
says
beachjams.com.
beachjams.com. And this is I'm promoting it with this genius promotional device called a refrigerator magnet. So people ask me what I'm doing, I hand them this magnet. So I've been posting things for about a month and a half. So I've always just made up songs on the spot, El Blurto. You know, I just don't even know what I'm going to sing. And I sit down and play and I make up a song. And then I take it home and I look at the video so I can remember what I did. And I use that to write songs. But but now I just decided this project is I make up the song on the spot, I video it, and then I just post it. And I don't go back and edit it. I never play the same song again. And I'm just doing it. Because all that other stuff, go back, refine, tweak the song, make a recording, then make an album, then put out the album. And then these days you realize no one even listened to the album anyway. You know what I mean? It's all just a lot of work. It's not my favorite part. My favorite part is just when it's coming through and I'm writing the thing.
I love that.
And I'm looking and I'm seeing that so I put out a song every day, and I'm doing a couple songs a day. I just throw the only editing I do, chop off the beginning and the end, and then I throw the ones away that didn't work. But I'm getting 2 or 3 songs a day, and I'm posting them, and they're different. You know, they're entertaining.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see. I start, and you can just see where I'm making it up. You know, you can just see it's going here. And anyway, so I'm so excited. This is what I just want to do from now on. It's kind of like, I'm just doing my favorite part. And see, like most musicians, their favorite part is making all the music, but that's really not me, you know?
Yeah.
I just like the writing and doing it. And so that's what I'm doing. And it's beachjams.com, takes you right to the YouTube. Okay. So it's on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. And on all of them, it's called Jack's Beach Jams, which is, of course, one word.
Okay, Jack's.
But really, if you just go to beachjams.com, it'll take you right to the YouTube channel.
Awesome. All right, I'll be sure I link that in there.
Yeah.
Well,
I hope so, because I just want to do that from now on. You know, I come home and I go, what did he write today? You know,
yeah.
It just comes out, and you know, some of them are okay, some of them are really as good as all my other songs. You know, so
yeah, that's funny, man. We should all do that, kind of like, because I write at least 3 songs a week about my dog, like original, you know, original compositions while I'm following her around or doing, you know, telling her to calm down.
Wait, did you say about your dog?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've written a couple songs about dogs lately. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know. So do you write them? How do you write them? You write them down and?
No, I just sing them. And then sometimes if I have a couple of friends that if they're really funny, I'll sing them into my phone and send them a voice memo.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. But you're just kind of making them up.
Just making them up. Yeah. On the spot.
But see, the thing is, I looked on the internet and stuff, and because I've always admired, like Tom Waits and I were into the beat generation, and Jack Kerouac and jazz, and they would just make up poetry in the coffee house, you know, and then the other guy I admire is Keith Jarrett, the piano player.
Yeah.
You're familiar with the jazz piano player. He would do concerts, but in the concerts, he'd sit down and he would make up. He was technically unbelievably great, right? He knew everything. He would just make up the whole hour of music and play these huge concerts all over the world.
That's phenomenal.
You know? And so I feel like I'm wanting to be the Keith Jarrett of songwriting.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't see anybody else doing it.
No.
I don't see anybody else that's doing it. So
no, because we live in a society where you people have brands.
Yeah. And everything you see,
Yeah.
no matter what the quality of the content, is packaged and produced so beautifully.
Yeah, to
People are
match
just
the-
used.
Yeah. So
So,
there is a need for somebody just out there doing some stuff that's just, hey, I did it. You like it?
It's real.
Later. Yeah,
It's
exactly right.
all. So
Well, that's amazing and super fun. I'm gonna have to come out when you're playing a show out there because I would love to see you play live. And
well, cool.
yeah,
Mrs. Henry's cranking back up, so I'll.
if you do
I'll
that
be
or
kind
even
of-
alone, I'm sure your solo shows are really fun.
Yeah, I have a great time.
There was something I wanted to tell you, like when I was listening. I guess it was like 3 or 4 days ago. I had your stuff on, and I was just cleaning my house, and I was thinking, like, between Peaceful Easy Feeling and Slow Dancing, so many people got laid to your music. It's almost like you could fill up like a city like Boston or some shit,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, yes, and none of them were me.
That's the coolest part, though.
Well, when I wrote "Peaceful Easy Feeling," I wasn't married or anything. But "Slow Dancing," when I met my wife before I married her, that I wrote that song, about her.
Oh, nice.
About that. And so then I was married after a while, and so I couldn't go up and say, "Hey, baby, I wrote Peaceful Easy Feeling."
Yeah.
But everybody else, and guys have told me that a million times. They would play it at the end of the night. Get
Yeah.
laid.
Oh.
Well, I've performed something really nice for a lot of people.
Can you imagine how many dudes in those Mexican like pullover hoodie shirts with an acoustic guitar around a fire on a beach got laid playing that song? Like that specific song.
You did, you say?
No, I'm just saying imagine how many guys just even in that scenario.
Oh, yeah. And then at one point, I think it was on the way at Don Henley's wedding, I was talking to Jackson Brown. He goes, I want to tell you, I played Peaceful Easy Feeling for Joni Mitchell.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what happened after that, but, he just wanted me to know. So I go, yeah.
You even helped out Jackson Brown, and he's super cute, too, on top of everything.
Oh, yeah. He's the man. Yeah, the man for sure. He's amazing. But it's really strange. I guess it's like if you are a parent and your kid, you got this kid and he grows up and then he becomes the president.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the song, I just wrote the song just like I write all the songs.
Yeah.
And I did not think it was a hit because when you think about it, I don't know, it didn't seem to have the chorus. It's not exactly a love song. It's kind of like, hey, I'll be okay even if we don't get together song.
Right.
And I just didn't think it was a hit. So, and then it went out and just became this thing all over the world.
Yeah.
And I got an award, a little thing from Spotify, 2 billion plays.
Wow.
On Spotify. So and that was 50 years ago I wrote it. So it's weird. It takes on life of its own, just goes out there.
Yeah.
And it belongs to all those people
Yeah.
who used it for their life. It's amazing.
I was going to make a bitter joke about Spotify giving you an award instead of a fucking money for it.
Yeah, I know. That is true. There.
I had a question as a songwriter. Smuggler's Blues, like as a songwriter, when you're listening to that song, that seems like it was fun to write.
That it was what?
That it was fun to write, like that story and kind of the specifics of the story, and it seems like you got to write like an action movie in 3 minutes.
Yeah. So Glenn and his manager had purchased the rights to a book called Snowblind about the cocaine trade.
Okay.
And they were going to make a movie. So Glenn came down here to Encinitas to my house. We went out in the back and he said, let's write a song for this movie. And so that's what we were doing. You Belong to the City, the other song was in Miami Vice.
Right, yeah.
That did off a script that they sent us. But this one, we'd already written. So, and Smuggler's Blues, and he said, yeah. And he goes, I think it should have some cool slide.
Yeah.
You know, so we did the demo here. And then as we're writing it, it's like not only there's a story, you know, we're taking from the point of view of the drug dealer guy.
Right.
And he's saying, well, this may not be the greatest thing, but
yeah,
easy money. It's got a very strong appeal.
Yeah.
You know, and if you were in my shoes, you'd see. So there's that action part. But also we got to say everything we wanted to say about the foolishness of having a war on drugs.
Exactly.
You know, that just funnels money into the underground so that it can get so huge. And we got to say all that stuff in there in a palatable way. So really happy with that thing, you know.
Definitely. It's funny, yeah, the war on drugs is like one of those things that I'm noticing. I mean, I don't know where you stand on this stuff, but there's that thing where, like, obviously they can't win the war on drugs because then that takes away the enemy that scares the person into voting for the person and way to raise money and all this stuff, that it becomes an industry unto itself, which I feel like the immigration issue is what it's become. Like, that no one really wants to stop it, that say they want to stop it, because it helps them too much to get elected. That's and right. To have an invisible enemy, they can always be like, they're coming, only I can save you.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Only I can save you. So,
well,
you know.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, we thought that was all going to go away, and pot was going to be legal, and yet, and it is now, but it just took about 45 years longer than we thought.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So much suffering had to take place, and I'm amazed that I can go into a dispensary now and just buy some pot. It just blows my mind that it's illegal, but thank goodness it finally got there.
Whenever I go there, I do, whether I smoke it, eat it, drink it or not. I love going to the place and seeing the products, because I live in Texas where it's still like 1853 or whatever here.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, dude, this has been so great talking to you, Jack. I really enjoyed it. I'm really glad that your publicist reached out to me, because I got to see where you are now, and that has been so exciting. And you have an honest to God, like a new fan of anything you do. Yeah,
it's been really fun. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
and let me know if you check out the beach jams. You can comment on them on YouTube.
I will.
Just let me know that you're commenting, and I'll get back to you and stuff, because I'm looking. It's only been a month old, and I'm so excited. I'm just looking for people to.
Yeah, and I'll share it. I'll share it with all the info about you and everything. People can go to beachjams.com to check out Jack's Beach Jams. Also, jacktempchin.com, and go to Spotify. Up his numbers. Get him another award.
All right.
Dude, it's been great talking
Johnny.
to you, man. Really nice meeting you, Jack.
Say hi to Andy Solomon for me, too.
I will. I definitely will.
I'm trying to write a song like I wish he would write. I'm drinking.
Gang, that was Jack Tempchin. Get out there and check him out at jacktempchin.com. Check out his songs, Waiting, Rambling Freeborn Man, Bob Dylan's Whiskey that he did with Jack Tempchin and Mrs. Henry. Fantastic collaborations. As I said, go to jacktempchin.com. Go check out Funky Kings, that great band from the 70s that he had with Jules Shear. Fucking cool record. What a cool guy. I want to thank him for being on the show. It was so great talking to him. Thanks to Bobby, his publicist, for setting this up. I love Jack Tempchin. Hope that we remain friends for a while. And I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Hey, gang, don't forget, when you're out there checking out jacktempchin.com, you can subscribe to this podcast and follow it wherever you find podcasts, gang. Leave a rating. Leave a comment if you can. If you're on social media, you can follow us on Facebook at How Did I Get Here? That's our podcast website. Also, you can follow our podcast Facebook page. You can find me on social media on Instagram and Twitter at Johnny Gowdy. Share these. Tag me in it. Let me know you're listening. Let me know if you like them. This was a great honor to get to talk to such a great songwriter. And I'll not forget it. All right. I'll be talking to you guys on Friday. Let's get down.
Well, I've been holding back. first heard with God on our side, it sounded like truth they were trying to hide. I'm gonna sing the truth now, and I ain't gonna stop if I have to drain this bottle down to the last drop. I'm trying to write a song